listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're back here, hour 3 of tonight's show. And what a night has been. My guest this hour is a good friend of the X-Zone. Joe Weigant is his name. He is a police officer. He is a paranormal investigator. And above all, he's a real nice guy because Joe, like everyone else here at the X-Zone, wants to make a difference, a positive difference. And Joe, always great talking to you. I understand you've been pretty busy these days doing paranormal investigations.
Oh yeah, Rob. I've been on just 2 of them just within the last couple of weeks, and it's all about talking to people, finding out what's going on with them and in their environment, and the things that they're dealing with, and trying to educate them on the things that are happening in the house, determining what is happening in the house, and then trying to find peace and establish a baseline for all, basically.
Joe, for the listeners who may just be joining us for the first time tonight, tell us a little about yourself.
I've been a police officer for 20 years. In just a few weeks, I will cross my 20-year mark. I started studying Reiki in late 2008, early 2009, and immediately became opened up my professional practice. And since then, just being in tune with the energy and helping people with their issues and helping them gain health and understanding and peace, and trying to establish a better sense of health and wellness for themselves. Just being in that flow of energy has opened me up to some of the things that I have been doing all my life, but just kind of set to the side because I didn't know they were happening. And over the years, I have realized that, yes, I do have the ability to communicate with the dead. I have the ability to speak to spirit guides, and do past life readings, and just do all kinds of the weird, fantastic things out there. And I do those for people who have questions, or they're confused, or they need help, or they need understanding. And it's about providing peace for everyone involved, whether they are living or deceased.
Joe, what was it that happened in your life that pushed you or pointed you towards the work that you do now when you're not a police officer?
I was basically running my Reiki practice out of a local metaphysics shop, and they sold crystals and books and jewelry and other things like that, and they held classes there. And I ran into other people who had similar abilities like mine, and just learning from them and talking to them, and then realizing that, yes, I too have the ability to see things which, aren't physically in the room with us. And just by honing in on those skills and being able to more finely and more exactly tune into that kind of energy, tune into that frequency, I was able to expand that skill to where I can use that now to communicate and help other people.
Why is it that some people like yourself have this ability, and yet the majority of people, it's either they don't have it, they don't know they have it, or they've never tried to use it?
Well, I think a part of that, that's a multifaceted question.
Yeah.
Part of that is most people don't believe that they can do it. And that's the biggest part of it. And once you start, talking about some of the common ground elements of psychic ability, most people realize, yeah, I've done that too, or yes, I've also experienced that. And, tuning into the intuition is basically what it's about. And whenever you confront people with the idea that their intuition has been speaking to them all their lives and they've always been able to do certain things, then they realize that, yes, there is a modicum of psychic activity going on. Now, a lot of people also believe that any of that kind of stuff in that arena is evil or bad, or it makes you a very bad person if you're doing those things, and you're either a fraud or a liar or possessed by the devil, or you're a witch or some other, horrible, nasty thing like that. And it's just simply not true. Human beings were born, and our minds contain the ability to receive information that we can't actually see with our eyes. And everything in the universe vibrates at a frequency, and some of those frequencies we can see. The colors that are bouncing off the furniture in the room with us, the colors that are bouncing off of the people that we're speaking to, we can see that with our eyes. But we can't see radio waves.
True.
In any given room that a person is standing in, there's probably 3 to 4 dozen radio waves. Most areas have at least 3 to 5 cell phone carriers. X-rays can't be.
Hey, Joe, you and I have to take our short break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. X-Zone Nation. Joe Weigant is our very special guest this hour, www.reikichoice.com. And this is the X-Zone. My name is Rob McConnell. Whatever you do, don't go away. We'll be back after this break on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and TalkStream Live.
Afterlife expert Roberta Grimes was the first one to say that dying can be fun. Now her best-selling book, The Fun of Dying, is available in stores worldwide. So if you wonder whether death ends life, how it feels to die, or what heaven might be like, The Fun of Dying was written for you. And if you have always been afraid of death, or if you worry that your life has no meaning, let The Fun of Dying ease your fears and bring new meaning to your life. Nothing said in The Fun of Dying is based on the teachings of any religion. Instead, Roberta draws on evidence to explain how death happens, how it feels, and what comes next. A lot of the best death-related evidence was produced in the first half of the 20th century. When it is put together with recent discoveries, it tells a consistent and amazing story. Roberta Grimes blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com.
Her wonderful book, The Fun of Dying, is available on Amazon and at stores worldwide wherever books are sold.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Wilda Wiecka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we will weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Wilda Wiecka, and the Science of Magic right here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
Welcome back, everyone. We've got some great new programming starting here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. We have Kevin Randall, who is doing a different perspective on Saturday nights and Sunday nights from 9 p.m. Eastern until 10 p.m. Eastern. Wilda Wiecka, The Science of Magic, from 7 p.m. Eastern until 9 p.m. Eastern, both on Saturday night and Sunday night. High Tech with Corey K. It hits the airwaves every Saturday night and Sunday night from 6 p.m. until 7 p.m. Now, two new shows that we have starting, coming in the fall schedule, which starts on September the 5th. We have Roberta Grimes and her show, Seek Reality, and she's going to be on Saturday nights and Sunday nights, as well as Patty Conklin. Remember Patty Conklin, a good friend of the X-Zone, just like Roberta is. Her show, Quantum Physics to Metaphysics, will also be airing here on Saturday night and Sunday. But throughout the rest of the week, what we're doing is we're scattering their programming to make sure that each and every one of you will be able to hear it. Different times of the day, but 7 days a week. This is going to be big. We have some other shows that we are going to be announcing in the near future. So whatever you do, if you'd like to find out more about what we're doing here at the X-Zone Broadcast Network, just go to www.xzbn.net. Joe Weigant is our guest. We're talking about ghost hauntings, things that go bump in the night. I wanted to talk about alien artificial insemination, but Joe says he doesn't know anything about that. So here we are talking about ghosts. What?
Yeah, definitely off topic there, Rob.
Joe, it's great having you back on the show, my friend.
It's always a good thing to be back here, Rob, and I enjoy coming on, and I'm always excited to be here.
Joe, you've done a couple of investigations since you and I both talked a couple of weeks ago. You did something in the city of Henderson, and you also did something in Owensville?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I went on an investigation. My wife and I went down to Henderson, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
There was I was contacted by a lady down there who is having some really horrible and negative experiences going on in her house. As she feels, there's some frightening experiences. There were some feelings of dread in the home. She's also sensitive, and so she was picking up on people in the yard, and particularly someone in the house who was not a very friendly person to be around, and she wouldn't elaborate on that because she wanted me to pick up on it for myself. But the story of her house is, it was built in the early 1800s as a church and was later converted into a house, and it's been added on to a couple of times. And right next to the house is the old cemetery that has some really, really old stones there. And during my investigation, as soon as we, pulled onto the driveway and were talking to the lady outside the house, I saw a lady in white walking around the outside of the house. And she was peering out around the corners of the house looking at me. And I mentioned it to the lady. I said, "Hey, who's the lady in white?" And she said, "Oh, yeah, she's always here. She doesn't mean any harm." And I go, "I don't see any harm off of her. That's not a problem. I'm not here to deal with that one." So we did a complete sight reading of the whole house. One of the cool things that happened was while I was standing in the kitchen talking with her, I felt an elderly woman standing behind me, and she ran her hand down my shoulder, down to the middle of my back. And it felt, kind of cold, and I could just feel her hand sliding down, and I looked behind me, and, there's an older lady standing there, and I said, well, hello, sweetie, how are you doing? And she smiled and walked on through the kitchen wall and out of the house. So you get greeted by a lot of different people whenever you open up to those frequencies.
At what point in these investigations, when little old ladies who you can't see stroke you on the shoulder, you turn around, there's a lady there, you flirt with her, and she kind of walks through a wall. Has this ever seemed weird to you?
It probably might have seemed weird to me years ago when I first started doing this, but now I've had spirits try to push me downstairs several times. I've had spirit turn the lights off on me when I'm going upstairs into an attic. We've had them blow out candles and just do all kinds of things. And after a while, it just becomes old hat. You walk into a place and you see people standing there, and it's not a really big deal, and you kind of get a feel for what they want or why they're there.
Right.
And you go on with things. So the real problem in the house was there was an older man who had died, and I'm going to say probably 75 to 100 years ago. And during his living years, this fellow was a real mean, drunken, ornery, just a
SOB,
really horrible man.
He sounds like it.
And he was causing a lot of problems for people in the house. And after I had gone through the entire house and taken note of what was actually happening, I determined that this fella hasn't ever crossed into the light, and I needed to cross him over. So, in the process of connecting with him and trying to convince him to cross into the light and go to the next place where he needs to be, that took a lot of convincing. He was very convinced that he was the only one who was right his whole life, and that everybody was wrong and ungrateful and disrespectful, and he really wasn't eager to go into the light. And even whenever I mentioned, well, the rest of your family is there, your father and your mother are there, and everyone's waiting for you, he let me know immediately he didn't like his father at all. And he didn't like any of his children at all. He did not like his wife at all, and wasn't eager to see any of those people, beyond the veil.
Sure.
And so and I experience this a lot whenever I'm crossing people over. They've chosen not to go into the light for a reason. And so a lot of crossing people over is finding out that reason why they didn't go, and then, talking with them and communicating with them and letting them know that this is the natural progression of nature. This is where things are supposed to be. And, where they are now is a trap space where they're in between physical realm and that realm beyond the veil, and they're not doing any well here.
But, Joe, when somebody...
I was able to cross him over, and as soon as he went into the light, the owner of the house was sitting next to me, and I, basically come out of my trance, and she said, wow, I felt that happen. And I said, well, it was not easy, but, we got the job done, and we smudged the house afterwards, and everything's been great since.
When somebody crosses and goes into the light, and they are on the other side, would they have not had to repent or to face what they have done wrong in the past, and the fact that they have gone to the light, everything has been forgiven?
I try not to use a lot of Christian-based religious aspects when dealing with this, because I think this particular topic is bigger than one religion here on Earth, this little bitty planet of ours.
Yeah.
I do believe, however, that when people cross into the light, they have a realization of what their life meant while they were here. And I think that as spirits, we come to Earth as a classroom to learn certain lessons about how to refine ourselves as better spirits and to get closer and closer to Source. And we learn things about what it's like to be black, white, Asian, gay, straight, male, female, rich, poor, oppressed, oppressor.
Yeah.
And we learn all these different lessons so we can understand the entirety of ourselves as spirit and also as humans. And each time we come back to this place, we need to learn another lesson. And sometimes if you don't get it right the first time, you got to come back and learn it again a different way.
But what I'm saying, I guess, Joe, what I'm trying to get across, Joe, or try to get clarity on, that if someone, no matter what their religious philosophy is, they go to the other side, they go to the light, would this not mean that they have learned a lesson and that all has been forgiven before they come back? And if this man's family, his father, his children, were on the other side, wouldn't that indicate that, things can be worked up? It's out. It's up to you now on this side to work out or face your own demons and then get to the other side?
My experience in dealing with people who are either coming down to visit after having crossed into the light, or those who are here who haven't gone into the light, is that, and there's a ton of books and articles that also agree with this, that once you cross into the light, you no longer carry with you those emotions and feelings and mindsets and attitudes that you had while you were here in flesh. And so whenever you cross into the light, you can see that from a higher perspective. And so, yes, all is forgiven because now you're back with spirits that were in your traveling group, and you can understand better how this life progressed, what you did or didn't learn here, and then you can come back and either learn a different lesson or learn this same lesson a different way. But I truly believe that once you cross into the veil, those attitudes are let go because you are no longer trapped by the flesh.
So why would this man not want to go across then?
Because he hadn't been across the veil. He was still trapped between physical death and crossing that boundary, crossing that veil and going into the light where his spirit would be refined and he would understand things from that perspective. When people turn away from the light, when it comes from them, it's like missing the bus. It's not going to come back and get you.
I see.
And so you're basically, as a spirit, you're trapped between the physical world and the true spirit world, and you're just basically in a place that you can't get out of and can't fully function in, and you can't move on. And so sometimes whenever you deal with people who are trapped and they have chosen to stay behind here for one of a number of a dozen different reasons, they simply don't move on. Their time stands still for them in spirit. And by crossing them into the light, they are able to gain a greater understanding because they're no longer held back by this realm. They're into a different realm at that point.
It's sad that we are not taught prior to getting ourselves into that situation, Joe, that there is a way that all is forgiven, that no matter what you believe or what you've been brainwashed by in your religious philosophy or your own religious practices, that heaven and hell do not play a part. It is only what we are taught here on this planet that creates the fear that makes us, well, certain of us, not want to cross. And I would imagine, Joe, that's one of the biggest parts of your job is letting the spirits understand what can really happen.
Absolutely. One of the primary reasons that some people choose not to go into the light is they're afraid of the judgment. That they fear that, I could not possibly have been good enough in this life to deserve heaven, and I'm afraid of going to hell, so therefore I'm not going to cross. I'm going to turn back away from the light and stay here.
All right, Joe, stand by, my friend.
There's no body to come back to.
Joe, stand by. I've got to take a commercial break. Exonation, Joe Weigant is our special guest. Here's the website, www.reikichoice.com. And Joe and I will be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast network, from our broadcast studios and offices of the X Zone Broadcast Network in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away. Gibbs A. Williams, PhD, is a practicing psychoanalyst, supervisor, researcher, and author in New York City. Much of his life has been dedicated to understanding nature and the uses of meaningful coincidences or synchronicities. His radical and original non-Jungian, non-mystical, non-magical theory of synchronicities illuminates much of the fog surrounding this challenging and perplexing topic. His ideas and manners are fresh, presented in a style that is both entertaining and highly informative. He is also an expert on crisis intervention, specially focused on violence reduction for the police and citizens, mastering anxiety, frustration, and stress without the use of medication, and effectively preventing and treating heroin addiction. Dr. Williams can be contacted at his email address at gwwilliamsny11@aol.com or visit his website at www.drgibbswilliams.com. Join High Tech with Corey K. weekly here on the X Zone Broadcast Network. From the world of computers to the ever-popular computerized gadgetry that are becoming part of our everyday life and living and society. From kids and their gaming devices, teens and their smartphones, to the applications of personal and business computers. From hardware to software, from standalone units to network computers. Join high-tech guru Corey K. weekly right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network as he takes on the topics that will be of use and great value to the international audience of the X Zone Broadcast Network. High Tech with Corey K. weekends at 9 p.m. Eastern, only on the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State certified occupational school training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com.
Coming soon to the X Zone Broadcast Network is A Different Perspective with me, Kevin Randall, as your host. We'll be taking a close look at what is happening in the world of UFOs today with side trips into the paranormal. Guests will range from those who are household names to those who have a different perspective on a variety of topics. No topic will be taboo, but there will be tough questions asked as we all search for the truth about UFOs, the paranormal, and those things that excite us. Sometimes we'll agree with a guest and sometimes we won't, but we'll try to keep the program topical. For those of you who would like to read, be sure to visit www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com and remember to listen to the other fine programs on the X Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net.
Afterlife expert Roberta Grimes was the first one to say that dying can be fun. Now her best-selling book, The Fun of Dying, is available in stores worldwide. So if you wonder whether death ends life, how it feels to die, or what heaven might be like, The Fun of Dying was written for you. And if you have always been afraid of death, or if you worry that your life has no meaning, let The Fun of Dying ease your fears and bring new meaning to your life. Nothing said in The Fun of Dying is based on the teachings of any religion. Instead, Roberta draws on evidence to explain how death happens, how it feels, and what comes next. A lot of the best death-related evidence was produced in the first half of the 20th century. When it is put together with recent discoveries, it tells a consistent and amazing story. Roberta Grimes blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Her wonderful book, The Fun of Dying, is available on Amazon and at stores worldwide wherever books are sold. And welcome back. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you live and around the world from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. You can always send an email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com or here to the studio at xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV, and our radio website at www.xzoneradio.com. www.reikichoice is the website for our guest this hour, Joe Weigant. We're talking about ghost hauntings, things that go bump in the night, and Joe's paranormal investigations that he and his wife have gone on. By the way, let me ask you, what's it like working with your wife on a paranormal investigation? How does your synchronicities and the fact that you two you're married, you know each other well. Does this help in an investigation?
I believe that anytime you can bring another sensitive with you, and the two of you can kind of validate each other's experiences during the investigation, it's always helpful, because if I'm the only one who's really picking up on what's going on in the place, the mind tends to want to deceive itself, and it tends to want to rationalize around the experiences. And sometimes I'll go into a space, and I'm picking up on one thing, but my wife, from her experiences and her abilities, she may be picking up on something different. And so I'm counting on her to see what she's feeling in a space, and she's counting on me to be able to see what I'm seeing or feeling in that space. And so we really do kind of help each other out and kind of bounce off of each other things. She doesn't have the ability to fully see them the way that I see them.
Right.
She doesn't have the ability to communicate with them or cross them over the way that I can do. And, and that's okay.
Sure.
Because, each of our differences helps to complement each other. And I've worked with a number of different sensitives over the years. The two of us have taken a number of different people along on investigations who are, capable of sensing, feeling, and seeing certain things in a home. And so it kind of helps everybody out whenever we have more eyes on deck, that we can actually see what's happening.
You said earlier that you've even been pushed downstairs?
Oh, absolutely.
Let me ask you this, Joe. How can something that has no mass, has no anything, they're a spirit, where do they get the physical ability to push a human?
Well, actually, the first answer would be is you and I have no mass, Rob. We're basically 100% quantum energy. We're just vibrating at a speed which makes us appear solid to other people around us in this physical realm. But whenever spirit is manifesting itself, and sometimes you can feel this happening in certain spaces whenever the temperature drops unexpectedly in a particular corner of the room with no other physical reason or source behind it. Sometimes the room will get hotter in a certain area of the room. This is an area where spirit has come into that space, and they're now starting to gather energy out of the atmosphere, which is why a lot of the times whenever the paranormal investigators who carry the equipment around with all the EMF meters and the K2 meters and the cameras and all that, they'll say, well, there's a temperature drop here. Well, that's an indication that somewhere in that area there's spirit trying to manifest itself. And sometimes, depending on their energy at the time and the energy that's available in the room, they can manifest enough energy to actually create a physical manifestation in our space. And that's just when you see things getting up and walking across the table on their own. You might see candles being blown out, doors being slammed, these kinds of things that are, I hate to say normal, but these things are typical of a paranormal occurrence in a home. You'll see inanimate objects getting up and moving on their own, or being knocked off of tables. Pictures are knocked off of walls. And sometimes they can bring up enough energy to push you when you're walking down the stairs.
Wow. I've never looked at the spirits that paranormal investigators may encounter as being dangerous towards the paranormal investigator.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of them, and I've felt this a number of times just driving to the site, I can feel that they know I'm coming. And I just get that feeling. It's like, okay, you know, I'm about a mile out now. They know I'm on the way. And sometimes I feel that they kind of get the understanding of, okay, well, time's running out. And I can feel, you know, a heaviness in my chest, or I can feel pushing on my chest while I'm driving to the site.
Gosh.
And, you know, whoever's with me at the time, I'll say, do you feel that? Because, you know, tell me what you feel, and let me see if what you're getting is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
And they'll say, oh, I feel choking, or I feel pushing on my chest. And, okay, that's them knowing that we're coming, and they're fighting our arrival. So I've gone to several investigations where people have shown me pictures where they've been scratched in the middle of the night. Orbs are moving through the space, and it's a totally different realm, but it's right beside us all the time. You know, I've
Sure.
told people over the past several years, the dead are walking among us. It's not a rare occurrence. What's rare is whenever they actually, you know, bring up enough energy that they can, you know, show themselves to us or indicate that they're with us. But they're all around us all the time, and many people who are mediums can, you know, tune into that particular frequency or tune into that radio station. Basically, okay, this is the frequency where, you know, spirit resides, and they can see that walking around quite a bit.
Orbs. A lot of controversy about orbs, even within the paranormal community. What is your explanation of what an orb is, Joe?
A true orb, a real orb, not just a piece of lint or a piece of dust or a reflection off of something. A really true orb is a representation of spirit that is present even though our eyes do not recognize it. Oftentimes you'll see them picked up on cameras. You'll see them picked up on... matter of fact, I did a business here in Evansville, and they were having some really serious issues in this business. And after I had, you know, dealt with everything appropriately and ethically, we went through the building and we did a full and complete smudging. And the owner of the shop said, you've got to come check out this security camera. There's orbs just floating and flying all over the place. And I'm looking at the security camera, and yeah, you can see probably about a half a dozen, you know, little balls of light that are not moving like dust, and they're not moving like, you know, reflections or you know, pieces of lint or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, keep your eye on the screen. I'll show you something. And I went into the other room, and I started calling them all in. And I wish that she had the ability to have recorded that, because it was really fascinating. She said that within about 10 seconds, I was being swarmed in all directions by orbs, just floating all around me. So that was really amazing. But a lot of times people will show me pictures, and, you know, sometimes it's just not an orb. Sometimes it's just dust.
Exonation, Joe Weigant is our special guest this hour, www.reikichoice.com. When you and a group of paranormal investigators go into a location like either the one in Henderson or Owensville that we were talking about, how do you proceed?
Usually I conduct a fairly extensive phone interview, find out what's actually happening in the house. Why do they think they need, you know, someone to come in and do something? And what do they expect to have done whenever we arrive? Some people just simply want validation that they're not crazy. They don't want me to do anything about it. We like having it here, and it's okay. I just want you to prove to me I'm not crazy. And sometimes they say, no, this is a real serious demonic force, and there's all this evil stuff happening, and you got to come over here and do an exorcism and all that. And, you know, I get there, and it's not a demon. It's, you know, it's Aunt Tilly or Uncle Ned, and they're coming to visit. And sometimes the only way they can get your attention is to knock a picture off the wall sometimes. But I will usually do an interview over the phone and find out what's happening in the house.
Right.
What's going on, what kind of disturbances or occurrences are happening there. We'll set up a time for me to come out. I will go out either, you know, I usually, I'll bring somebody with me.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll go and I'll just walk through the house and get a sight reading on what's actually happening in the space. Is this Aunt Tilly and Uncle Ned, or is this, somebody who's trapped in the house from a previous owner? Is this some kind of another incident where, the house was built over a graveyard or something and you've got some restless people there? What's actually happening in the house? And then I will deal with that. If it's, a past loved one who's gone into the light and they're coming back to visit, well, it's my job to educate the living on what's happening beyond our world. And so I have to sit down and say, okay, well, what's really happening here is not demonic. It's, I'm picking up, possibly an aunt or a grandmother or some other kind of energy, and this is simply, the natural way of things. And it's I do more education than I do anything else on a site, because sometimes there's just not a whole lot of real work, quote, for me to do.
Right.
As it is just to read the site and then educate the living as to what's going on.
So if somebody crosses and goes to the light, they can actually come back on this side, right?
Oh, sure.
Then why don't
Sure.
those who have crossed, like in the case of the man and the son that you were talking about before, the guy wouldn't cross, why wouldn't the son or the father come back to this side and try and explain to them or him what changes had happened and that there was no fear for him to cross?
The only answer I can give, and I'm simply speculating here, is that perhaps those who have crossed the veil can't go to that space between. They can come here to our realm, but they can't go to the space between and communicate with those trapped souls who can't get out of that space. They're in a spot where they don't belong, and they can't be physical again, but yet they can't go across the light anymore because that time has come and gone. Time stands still for them. They're in a place that nothing is supposed to exist. And, I mean, I'm just speculating here, but it would seem to me that those who have crossed into the light just can't get to that spot.
That's too bad.
It is too bad, but I didn't design it. So
No, I understand. I understand though, but I'm just speculating. I've got to go to a commercial break in about a minute and a half, Joe. But if these people, these spirits, can come back, and if it's all energy, something, like I'm having a hard time understanding why they or other spirits wouldn't come back and talk to the spirits that are basically caught in limbo and explain the situation to them, like, cross, nothing's going to happen.
John Edward, the famous, world-famous psychic medium, he said it best in one of his books. He said, whenever spirit from beyond the veil comes down here to speak or give a message to us humans,
right,
it's like swimming to the bottom of a 12-foot pool. You take all of your energy to get down there. And once you're there, you can't stay very long, and you can't say very much.
All right, stand by, buddy. We've got to take our break. X Zone Nation, Joe Weigant and I will be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder-president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
If you enjoy reading a good mystery with a touch of the paranormal, then you'll love From Out of the Woodwork by William S. Peckham. Sean Kennedy, a Toronto contractor, buys derelict houses, guts them, and turns them into multi-family dwellings. When Sean buys 29 Livery Lane, a century house in ruins, and starts the renovation, the house fights back. He is visited by ghosts of owners past. His visions are triggered by touching an oak mantle, reading a faded letter, opening an old locket, or opening a brand new casket in the basement. These visions will take you on a trip across southern Ontario from Niagara Falls to Toronto to Kingston. From Out of the Woodwork is now available in paperback and on your favorite electronic reader. To order your copy of From Out of the Woodwork, go to www.williamspeckham.com. That's www.williamspeckham.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
Welcome back, everyone. Joe Weigant is our guest, www.reikichoice.com. Hey, Joe, as always, great having you on the show, and I'm sorry I had to cut you off from the reference that you were making on, what was the name of that guy?
John Edwards.
John Edwards, yeah. So
Yeah.
if you could continue that, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Well, John Edward, he's written a lot of books about his experiences as a psychic medium, and he's a very sought after, and he's booked like 8 months out just to get in to see him, and he does shows all over the country and around the world. I actually went to one of his shows once and watched the way he works, and he's just fascinating to watch him. But in one of his books, he was describing about what it's like to try to communicate with those who have crossed. And even though he can get closer to them than the average person simply because of time and experience and ability, he described in his book that when spirit comes down to try to make itself known to the people just moving around here on the earth, it's a lot like trying to have a phone call conversation at the bottom of a 12-foot swimming pool. It takes all the energy you can muster just to get down to the bottom of the pool. And once you're there, you can't stay very long, and you can't talk very long. And so a lot of times, even for me, you get blips, you get vowel sounds, you get words, you get feelings, which is a lot of the way that I communicate with them, is by feelings and emotions and how they feel. And then when you combine that with some of the words that they're getting across, you just develop a picture of what it is that they want or what they're trying to say or what they're trying to communicate to you. and you run with that, and sometimes you get to see images, or sometimes you'll see pictures, or you'll see symbols which mean something to you. I've seen symbols which mean something only to the person that I'm dealing with, the living person. And so, you start putting all of these little different pieces of information together, and you formulate a communication.
Mm-hmm. So if somebody wanted to become a paranormal investigator, what steps should they take?
Oh, well, it's difficult to answer because I don't do it the way that you see it on TV. I don't use any equipment. I don't use any meters. I don't record anything. I don't have cameras. And if you watch your average paranormal show, you're going to see people, bringing in control trucks with all these monitors and cables and all this kind of stuff, and I don't do any of that. If somebody wanted to get into that, I would say they need to do a lot of research into electronics and
exactly,
and how to set up those kinds of things, and how to conduct an ethical, professional investigation with that kind of equipment.
So far on television, I haven't seen any. But the fact that all these electronics are being brought into an area where there is alleged hauntings or alleged spirit activity, the fact that these extra electronics are being brought in, is there a chance that these electronics are in fact either impeding the spirit or aggravating the spirit? Could these electronics be detrimental to the spirit's existence?
I don't have a rational answer for that. I don't have any experience in that particular field. I would hate to give an answer and be completely, off my base on that one. So I really don't know. From what I understand, the people who are using the equipment to gather evidence have been very successful with it. And so I can't even speak about that realm. I do mine from a psychic medium point of view. So whenever I go into a place, it's all about talking to the living and trying to find out what's happening in the house, and then dealing with that in an ethical, professional manner, so that way everybody can have peace.
The fact that you're able to use your psychic abilities not only with those who are alive but those who have passed, is there a difference in the psychic communication itself?
As far as,
well, is the psychic communication with a person, if you didn't know a person was dead and you had two communications, would you be able to tell which one was from a live person and which one was from a dead person?
Oh yes. There's a lot more going on verbally and visual cue wise, body language and all that kind of stuff when you're talking with a live person. It's things are much clearer, things are readily apparent. When you're dealing with someone who has crossed, things aren't as clear, things aren't as sound. What you do hear is scratchy. It's kind of like having a bad cell phone connection. You get to have a little blip, now and then.
Right.
So yeah, there's a way to tell, and it's like I said, it's time and grade, it's experience of just being in that place and being able to be with those spirits and just communicating with them.
What about these people who go on television and basically taunt and provoke and aggravate spirits?
I have a very negative opinion about the people that do that. Matter of fact, any team that I have ever worked with as a medium, they don't engage in that activity, nor do they tolerate it. I've never been in a investigation where someone has done that to collect evidence, and I wouldn't stay around very long if they did. I think it's unethical. I think it's unprofessional. I think it's you've also got the people that are living in that place, and they're there because they're having problems, and then you come in and intentionally try to aggravate the problem and make everything in the building angry with you, and then they go, well, yeah, we got some really great voices on tape, and we got some great pictures. We're going to go now, bye. And these people are now stuck with some pissed-off spirits that you have helped create that way. And so it's not very helpful. It doesn't really solve any problems, and I think it's just unethical and unprofessional.
The attitude of a paranormal investigator, can it in fact open a doorway to negativity coming into a situation that may not have had any negativity involved at whatsoever?
Are you talking about like a dark entity?
Yeah.
I don't think that the presence of a medium can invite that in on its own. I think that, you know, I think that the factors involved are far too vast for just the presence of a medium or another kind of investigator being on site to create those kinds of situations and scenarios where that could happen. Those things are either already going to be there or you're not going to encounter them. Most of the time, you're just not going to encounter them.
Right. What about these ghost tours that go and, you know, they go tromping through graveyards, they go tromping through churches, they go tromping wherever they think there's a ghost and where they can make a buck?
Yeah, I was on your show right after I did the Waverly Hills Sanatorium experience, and that was an overnight investigation. And I have an ethical conundrum, and I think I even explained that during that time on that show, that I really have a problem with people who will house up on a site and say, this place is haunted. I got to charge you $100 to come in here.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, people tromping through that area, one of two things is going to happen. The spirits who are connected to that place are either going to be more active or less active whenever they start seeing, groups of 10 and 20 coming through, every weekend to try to capture evidence or something. So sometimes you'll go through a site and there'll be a whole lot of activity because, the spirits there are just really tired of all the aggravation and all the people running around, and sometimes they just shut down and you can't get anything out of it.
Right.
But you've got the Lizzie Borden house, you got the Axe Murders house, you've got the Bell Witch place. I mean, you got all these places that are out there, and they're charging for you to come on and experience things. There's hotels all over the country that are saying, "Oh, this place is the most haunted hotel in America," but you got to pay $500 to stay here and sign.
So the paranormal has turned this into a payday mecca for unscrupulous people.
In some cases, yes.
Unbelievable.
Like I say, I ethically, I think it's not sound. What I would love to be able to do is to just travel across the country and just start crossing people over at these locations or solving the issues that are occurring at these locations. And that way everybody could be at peace. And, if somebody, is not making $1 off of that particular tragedy any longer, then that's, not really my that's not for us to decide.
What is
it
called?
I would like to go in and eliminate the issues and eliminate the problems and solve some of these desperate situations, and that way those occurrences won't be happening anymore.
It's almost as if some of these tour operators are no better than those who deal in sex slaves because they're making money off of people.
It could be looked at that way. Yeah.
I know. I'm harsh, but I just tell it the way I see it.
Yeah, I kind of... Yeah, it could be looked at that way. It's apples and oranges, but it's all still fruit,
That's right. Joe, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight, my good friend. Always a pleasure talking to you. I can't look forward to... I can only look forward to the next time that you join us here on the X Zone. But until then, Joe, take care of yourself. Be safe, my friend, and let our listeners know how they can find you.
ReikiChoice.com. That's REIKI Choice.com. And I have another website that's not quite complete yet, but it's paranormalpeace.com, and that's where you can find some of my other paranormal work there. But it's always a pleasure to be with you, Rob.
Joe, take care of yourself, and thanks very much again for sharing your time with us here on the X Zone. Well, that's it for tonight, X Zone Nation. I'll be back tomorrow night at 11 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. So from everyone here at our Master Control and Studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, to each and every one of you around the globe listening tonight, take care of each other, and always remember to keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night, everyone.